Izanagi, aka Jamie here, and today I'd like to do a little, I suppose you could call it a review slash opinion video on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So yeah, let's jump right in. At the moment, there won't be much gameplay. I'll just be Cloud hanging around the 7th Heaven bar, because why not? And where did I put my script to? God damn it, I'm so unprofessional. Just kidding, I'm not reading from a script, but I did kind of take like note points of what to talk about. Okay, so starting off, my history with the game. I played this game maybe 6 or 7 years back. I thought it was the original PS1 game. I thought it was a good JRPG. It was quite fun. I would like to think that my opinion is somewhat less unbiased as compared to someone who's probably played it like back in the day on the PS1 when they were a kid, because I don't have that old sense of nostalgia blinding my opinion. So that's something I would like to point out, which is a good thing, I guess. But yeah, I like the original Final Fantasy VII. Thought it was a really good RPG. And yeah, okay, starting off first, the graphics. Now, as you can see from here, the graphics are amazing. Look at Cloud. Look at his detail. Look at his luscious, pointy, blonde, spiky hair and his blue Mako-infused eyes. Look at this. And his sword. And then you've got Barrett here. Look how detailed this guy is. He's got a beard. He's got a scar there. Got a nice tattoo. Cute little Marlene. And there's Tifa. Look at the detail on Tifa. So yeah, graphic-wise, all the main characters look extremely detailed. Like, the Unreal Engine really helps bring like this world and characters to life. So, you know, Tifa, Barrett, Cloud, Red 13, the Turks, Reno, Rude, Rufus, Sephiroth, they all look top notch, and even some of the side characters look good too. Some of the new unique side characters that are introduced in the remake that weren't in the original. So I'm going to go into a bit of spoilers. So, you know, you got Madam M, Chocobo Sam. They all look really good. The NPCs, not so much. The NPCs look very generic and kind of bland and boring, which I guess that's the whole point and purpose, since they're NPCs, you know. They're supposed to be just there in the background. They're not really supposed to be, you know, that much focused on. Some of the environments look really good. Like, Aerith is, like, the church, when you first meet Aerith. And even Aerith's house looks amazing. Very detailed. But there's also some sectors in the game where the textures look very, very poorly rendered. Like, almost PS2 quality, if you can believe that. Like, I don't know if you've ever played a game and you've loaded into a game but the textures haven't properly loaded yet, and you'll see like a tire on the floor or a piece of wood, and there's like no, and it looks so weird because there's no textures, and after a couple of seconds the textures like load in. Yeah, some of the textures are like that, but it seems like they haven't loaded in properly. Like some places on the slums, like the doors or like random items, they're very weird. So overall, I'd say the game graphically looks amazing, but there are some areas here and there where I don't know if it's because the textures don't render properly, or I guess this barrel here is a fine example. Like, take a look at this barrel and these wooden crates. I mean, I guess you could say like no one's gonna pay attention and examine like a random frickin' barrel on some crates, but I am. But yeah, that's kind of what I mean with the some of the graphics are really good. In other areas it's kind of meh. But yeah. Alright, moving on to probably my favourite part of this game is the combat system. I absolutely love the combat system. I think like this is probably one of the best combat systems Square has done in a long time. So essentially what it does is it fuses like real-time action combat with a more strategical turn-based system. So what you have is you'll have your action combat, but whilst you're fighting you can pause and you can select from the menu. So time will freeze, you can select your abilities or spells, You can switch characters. So it is a perfect blend, an awesome mishmash of action combat and real-time strategy, which I love. Also, each character plays extremely different from one another. So you've got Cloud here. You know the main dude, he's rocking his Buster Sword. He's slow but powerful, and he's more of like a tank. Punisher mode, you can like guard, and he can counter certain attacks. Then you've got Tifa here, who's more of like the agile monk character. She's got really like fast-paced attacks, and all of her abilities are like a martial arts based, a lot of kicking, punching, all that good stuff. Barrett here, as you can see, the dude with the machine gun, he's all about basically overwhelming enemies with like a hellstorm of bullets and fire. He's really good when it comes to taking out like airborne enemies, and he's just fun to play. And then you've got Aerith, who's not really here at the moment. She's more of like the traditional spellcaster healer, white mage character. So he's also fun to play. Good healer, good offensive magic, and she's kind of similar to Barrett. She's a long range fighter. Now, moving on to the music. The music in this game, for the most part, like all the remix tracks. They are amazing. There's one track in particular I really like. It's when you fight the Airbuster boss. It's one of the remixes to Those Who Fight Further, and it's basically got like this like kind of like heavy metal rock remix, and it's just like when you're in the middle of fighting the boss, it just gets your blood pumping. It's like, hell yeah, dude! It's a fucking sick tune. And I also like the one when you're in a War Market, and you know you got the Chocobo stable, and Chocobo Sam, you got the like the song. It's just like whistling, and it's just really catchy. I don't know. I love that song too. It's just, and you've also got the remix with One Winged Angel for Sephiroth. Amazing. I could go on all day about the music in this game. The music's amazing. Right then, moving on. Voice acting. Yeah, I can't really complain about the voice acting is spot on. Now, I don't know how many of you have played, you know, maybe, I guess, the Kingdom Hearts games, because they had voice acting for the FF7 characters in those games, and maybe Advent Children, but the original voice actors for them are gone, so the cast in this game have all brand new voice actors for the most part, to my knowledge anyways. So, yeah. Cloud's voice, VA does an amazing job. Tifa's does an amazing job. Aerith's VA is actually a YouTuber, which is awesome. She does a good job. Barrett, I really like. Barrett is one of those, like when you play, obviously you played the original Final Fantasy VII on the PS1, there's no voice acting, right? So when the characters speak, you kind of got to visualize what they would sound like in your head. Barrett is basically exactly how the hell I imagine he would sound like in my head. Like, the VA got him spot on. Like, just this, like, big, boisterous black dude. Like, yeah, amazing job with Barrett. Probably one of my favourite characters in this game, in terms of the voice acting. Sephiroth is interesting. I haven't heard too many lines of Sephiroth, so I can't really give, like, a full judgment on him yet. I'm still kind of iffy on him. But other than that, I like all the voices. They're amazing. Square did a good job with the English voice cast. Now moving on to the game. So, in this game, I'd like to say there's a lot more screen time and interactions with the characters, which definitely helps build up a sense of camaraderie. And there's a lot of banter and playful moments, which is good. This is more of a complaint now. One complaint I have, I feel like there are definitely some areas in the game. Oh, let me just drink a minute. Refreshed. Anyways, there are definitely some areas in the game which feel like a lot of extra padding. So there's one segment I remember specifically where you're raiding, I think it's Sector 5, and you've got to kind of get rid of certain parts to this machine, the 4-buster boss. So you get these key cards, you defeat these Shinra officers, you collect the key cards, and you can pick and choose which parts you want to deactivate, which in turn makes the upcoming boss fight with the 4-buster a bit easier. But they were literally copy and paste levels, so you'd go up a flight of stairs and there'd be like a group of like a group of Shinra soldiers, and that would repeat like 6-7 times in a row, and it's just like got kind of tedious for me. And there were other there were other levels in the game as well which kind of dragged out for the sake of padding. Although that being said, there were also levels which I did like. So for example, the Ghost Train Graveyard, that was padded out as well, but actually gave the entire area a bit of a backstory. So even though that was padded out, it was actually quite interesting just because of the extra backstory and lore they added to the area. So it's a mixed bag. Some of the padding is really tedious. Some of the extra padding, it benefits the area and story. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. Moving on. Okay, the Watchers of Fate. Now this is an interesting one. If you played the game, I'm sure you're aware what the Watchers of Fate are, Orbiters of Fate, however you want to name them. So essentially, their main goal in the game is to keep everything on the straight and narrow to the canon, kind of, I guess. So they will do things such as, back when Reno was trying to take Aerith in the church, with accompanied with his Shinra troops, the Watchers actually blocked Reno's attempts at trying to capture her, so the timeline followed what it was supposed to. There's also cases of, characters getting killed by the Watch, such as Jessie, and she's about to throw a grenade, she's like, "Oh, I never miss," and then the Watchers are like, "Sorry, bitch," and they just like kind of like, I guess they fucked up her aim or something, and then she basically got exploded herself with her own grenade. And there's also Wedge. Wedge escapes his fate, only later in the game to end up getting blown out of Shinra HQ building anyway and getting flattened like a pancake, just like in the original. Rest in peace, poor Wedge. At least you tried. At least he tried, but So yeah, and even Barrett gets stabbed by Sephiroth, which obviously if you play the original Final Fantasy VII, that never happened. And so they pretty much heal Barrett's wounds so he survives. Because if they did not interfere, he would have died, and that did not happen in the main timeline, so yeah, they don't want that to happen. Many other instances, such as the escape from Midgar, when, the truck Barrett's on and Red 13's on almost gets destroyed, but they kind of like shield and block the blast. So there's those little different segments and areas where they pretty much keep Fate to the narrow path. Now, okay. Oh no, I didn't talk about the side quests actually. So what to say about the side quests? They're pretty standard JRPG fetch quests. One fetch quest will literally involve you going around trying to find cats. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That's pretty fucking lame, right? It reminds me of the quest in Final Fantasy 15, where you're going around collecting frogs for this chick, and there were like 3 or 4 of those quests. Yeah, some of them are fun. Some of them you interact with like interesting, witty characters. Like the one in Walmart where you're basically going around with Johnny and you're getting into these like random weird situations. That one was kind of funny. But some of them, like the one where you're going around gathering cats, is pretty boring. Yeah. But you do get some good rewards from doing the side quests, like materia. And hell, wait, I'll show you. Wait. I even got this Negan bat. This Nell bat here. You unlock this bat from doing a side quest. So some of them pay off in the end. Oh, I am missing 2 weapons for Cloud. Huh. Interesting. I definitely am going to go back and do some side content stuff, because there were a few things I missed. Anyway, moving on now to the ending of the game. Just checking I was on air. Imagine if I was speaking all this time and nothing was being recorded. That would be kind of awkward, right? Yeah, that would just be my luck. Anyways, the ending Hmm. I have mixed feelings about the ending. I don't hate the ending. I don't particularly love it either. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm neutral to it. I haven't entirely wrapped my head around it. The inclusion of Sephiroth as a final boss, I guess, kind of seemed out of place to me. But I suppose the whole mindset behind Square and Nomura was like, okay, well, we don't want to end this game on just like a very generic anticlimactic cliffhanger, right? We want to have like a big epic battle at the end, and who better to have a big epic battle with than, you know, the main antagonist of the franchise, the series, Sephiroth. So from that perspective, it makes sense, but I just felt the fight was kind of forced. Considering apparently this game is going to come in multiple parts, you'd think they would leave Sephiroth right until like the final finale, as they did with the original FF7. But you know, this is a kind of remake, reimagining of the game, so I guess they're going to do their own thing. And there's one boss that felt like very Kingdom Heartsy. The one where you fight before Sephiroth, it reminded me of Darksiders from the original KH. Like this big, like, heartless thing. And there were moments where, you know, you're fighting Sephiroth and each of your party members, like one by one, eventually join you to help fight him. That felt like a Kingdom Hearts moment. I was just waiting for Cloud to be like, "You're not going to win, Sephiroth. My friends are my power," or something cheesy like that. But thank God he didn't. Another thing is that, so essentially the game is heavily suggesting there might be multiple parallel timelines. So I didn't catch this myself, but I did watch a review video. I think it was it GameSpot, Eurogamer? I can't remember the exact game site. So essentially, at the end of the game, you see cutscenes of Zack Fair. If you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, I obviously don't need to go into detail who Zack Fair is. He's Cloud's mentor and best friend. His teacher of sorts, somewhat. He was with Cloud when he was in Soldier. So there's a scene where, you know, Zack is basically fighting a horde of Shinra troops to help protect Cloud, and he dies. But there's an alternative timeline where Zack doesn't die. And how do we know it's an alternative timeline? It's because it's actually not really that low-key at all. There's a part in the scene where, like, a crisp packet for that dog mascot blows by, and the person in the Eurogamer review pretty much pointed out this is a different brand of dog from Shinra's mascot in the main timeline of the game, so it's heavily hinted and implied that this might be a different timeline. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure why the effects of this timeline would affect other timelines, but I have a feeling like this is going to be like a element Nomura explores further in future games. And yeah, that leaves me with the next part. What is going to happen in part 2? Well, that shit, dude. Who knows, man? At this point, anything could happen in part 2. Literally anything, because at this point they could go an entirely new direction with the 7 Remake Part 2. They don't have to follow the default timeline and stuff. I mean, we've already seen the party are willing to defy fate, so, you know, there could be a lot of events from the main game. Aerith getting killed, penetrated by Sephiroth's big sword. You know, a lot of major events that happen in the main vanilla game that could be completely changed in the remake, or part 2 of the remake. Maybe part 3. I don't know how many parts Square are going to make. I'd imagine 3 at least. So yeah, now that the story has introduced all these different elements of, you know, trying to defy fate, different timelines, yeah, the story could really go anywhere, for better, for worse. I guess it depends on your opinion and perspective. If you're like a proper hardcore OG fan of Final Fantasy VII, and your idea of the remake was just remaking the game the same as the original, better graphics, more story, more detail, the characters. It's funny because this remake does have that. It does expand on a lot of characters. It does expand the story. But if you're not a fan of these new elements that add in with like the fate aspect and parallel alternate timelines, you might not like it. Me, I'm open. I'll just say I'm open-minded. I wasn't a fan of the ending, rather, but I didn't hate it. So I'll see what they do with part 2. And yeah, I think I rambled on enough. So yeah, if anyone watches this video, slap a comment in that comment section. Tell me about your thoughts and feelings on the game. What do you think they're going to do with part 2? Did you enjoy the game overall? Did you hate the game? Did you love the ending? Did you hate the ending? Were you mixed about the ending like me? Etc, etc, blah blah blah. So yeah, I think that'll be it for the review. And yeah, I'm going to awkwardly end this off. Alright guys, later. And